I ain't touching it. Nope.
Here. All right, George.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Very special day right here on TGD Today. I'm George Honeycutt, Hugh Roy III, and Professor Gene Weldon. We got our panel of experts, golf experts, and then there's me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's pick it up a little bit. Let's perk. It's the 145th Open.
It is.
We're going.
This is golf.
Yep.
This right here.
In its purest form.
You know, and listening this morning, you know, when we woke up, Heather was getting ready and stuff, and watching this and listening to Faldo and them talk about the golf courses. You know, links golf is so different because other than the United States where bunkers are all in the rough and on the sides of the fairways, you got these bunkers in the middle of fairways. I mean, this is how golf's meant to be played.
Mm-hmm.
You know, put the trouble in the middle. That way you've got to play to a certain point. You've got to know how to manage your golf ball.
Well, everybody.
And that's what makes it so much fun.
You know, Hugh, everybody says, and I agree with it 100%, if you haven't played golf over in Scotland or Ireland, you haven't played golf.
No. This is the home of golf, and it's the way golf's meant to be played. And it's not meant to be stand there and bomb it and carry this and carry that. I mean, there's places where, you know, you can have a bunker that's 220 yards off the tee, and you can't get it over it.
Yep.
And then there's other ones where it's 400 yards down the fairway, and you say, okay, well, I can hit driver, I can't get there. Next thing you know, you're up against the lip playing out sideways because of the wind and the ground and whatever. So, you know, there's just so many different ways that golf can be played, and it doesn't just stay with day to day.
Well, we're going to go into that a little
It's
bit
crazy.
later. I was watching early coverage, as you can imagine. A little miffed at she who must be obeyed. I had gone to bed about 11 Eastern Standard Time and had my alarm set for 1:30 so I could get up and watch the coverage, and she turned off the alarm. I slept till 3 o'clock. I didn't get the coverage on until 5 minutes after 3. I was upset.
You'll live, though.
I know. Hey, before we get started, we got a lot of topics we're going to discuss today, open-related, not open-related. But Jeff, our illustrious executive producer, just got back from the handicap.
Paralong Drive Cup.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us an update?
Yeah, this is cool. I've been covering these guys for the last few years. I met them up in Atlantic City in an exhibition a few years ago. They invited us out to Mesquite, Nevada to cover their World Championship out there. Last year we did the first Paralong Drive Cup at Tennessee National down in Loudon, Tennessee. And then this year the University of Tennessee hosted the Paralong Drive Cup at their day golf facility there on campus. And absolutely beautiful facility. And University of Tennessee really, really gave these guys a great place to play golf. They laid out a grid, marked it off just like they would a football field. Man, you had orange and white checkered flags on all the lines, you know, and had the numbers painted on there. I mean, it's just they really went out of their way to do that. And Dean Jarvis, who is the founder of the Paralong Drive Cup, held this thing. And we had hitters there from Canada, Michigan, California, Arizona, all over. And these guys really, really put on a show. And if you're not familiar with Paralong Drive Cup, it all started with it's part of the adaptive golf program. This thing is an Olympic Day sanctioned event, okay? And Dean Jarvis did something unique. He had founded the Amputee Long Drive Championship, and when he started allowing golfers with other types of conditions perform, like traumatic head trauma, cerebral palsy, and things like that, anyone who's differently abled, as they call it, not disabled, okay, who has a different than an able-bodied condition can participate. So out of that was born Paralong Drive Cup. And if you can't go there and listen to the stories of what these guys have done, some of them were injured in battle. Some of them were injured as childs. One guy, Josh Williams, out of Canada, fell over the bow of the family boat when he was 6. The propeller chopped off one of his legs. Okay?
Wow.
I mean, one guy fell out of a bus and it backed over him and took both of his legs. You know, just there's all kinds of stories. Dr. Lucian Newman from Gadsden, Alabama, a surgeon, was pretty much a scratch golfer, and a hunting accident, he lost one of his arms. And now he's back to a +2 golfer, playing with one arm with a prosthetic. So it's really amazing to go watch these guys, hear their stories, see what they've overcome. You don't hear anybody complain about anything out there.
Right.
They all want to talk about what golf has done for them and how golf improved their life. Tyler Bunn, who has cerebral palsy, just an amazing story, of what this has done for him. And he told me, he says, we need to get this throughout the world. The world needs to know this.
Right.
People that have these types of conditions need to know that they can come somewhere among like-minded people and compete against themselves.
They don't
other
have to sit
competitors.
in dark rooms and become couch potatoes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can't leave one of these things and not be juiced up. And I'm working really hard to try to get one in Myrtle Beach, trying to find somebody who's willing to set up a grid for us. And we don't really have a driving range here that's suitable, but we could take a nice wide par 5 and do this, with the right place. So anyway, that's my story. My 4th time covering the Paralong Drive guys. And
how can our viewers and listeners look at some video or photos or whatever? Where can they go to get that?
We will have everything up on thegolfdirector.com once I get started editing. I did 15 or 16 interviews, so you'll hear each of the stories of those 15 or 16 guys, plus a highlight video I'll produce. And I just put a few hundred pictures up on our The Golf Director Facebook page and at the Golf Director Twitter account yesterday. So you can check that out. I did some swing sequence photos. I showed you guys some of those at the beginning where I stood behind them with the camera set on automatic and just captured their swings. And you'll be amazed at the athletic ability of some of these cats when between clicks on the camera, as fast as it can go, the top of the swing to follow through one click.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty slick.
That's some speed.
That's a lot of club head
That's a
speed.
lot of speed.
Yeah, so these guys on this range, the longest drive was 334 yards. But you got to know couple things. One, it was uphill, and 2, it landed and plugged. There was no roll on it. So they're carrying the ball 334. 2 of the guys, Jared Brents and Brendan Jacks, were both over 400 yards in Mesquite. And in several occasions, these guys have outdriven the able-bodied long drive guys. So
Wow.
the distances don't sound impressive unless you know the conditions, but still, great event. Just wanted to give our listeners and viewers a little bit of scoop on the Paralong Drive Cup and what that's all about, and there'll be a lot more of it up here in the next few days.
Well, we'll look forward to that,
That is-
and we'll
that's
look
cool.
forward also to maybe getting something locally.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I mean,
Be great to get a part of that.
Yeah, it's like Gene and I were talking before we went on air. It's just, I think it's about golf.
Yeah.
The game of golf in general, what it does for people and what it can do.
What it
And
can do is amazing.
Proof. This
Yeah.
is proof. So, very nice.
Well, thanks, Jeff, for the update. And again, the 145th Open is on and going at Royal Troon. And the golf course is kind of given up a little bit today. But then again, too, it's held some of its own. But the weather conditions could not have been better for a first-day start compared to what it's been for the last several days. They had a ton of rain last weekend, and it has been misty rain several times each day leading up to today. But bright and sunny today, hardly a cloud in the sky. Wind has held itself down a little bit. They anticipate it to gain some strength this afternoon, but I don't see much. Tomorrow, pretty much the same. And then over the weekend is when it's supposed to get wet. It's supposed to get cooler, and the wind is supposed to pick up from its normally prevailing area. So actually the wind is coming across today from the south, so that's a little bit of a change from there.
A little bit of a change.
Yeah.
And you look at this, and it's this golf course is going to hold its own. I mean, you're going to have guys shoot low scores, but there's going to be days where it's going to jump up and bite you. But it's just, the conditions are perfect for scoring from the standpoint the ground is soft. I mean, you're watching guys hit shots into greens and they're backing them up. And that's not what you usually see out of an Open
Not at all.
championship.
No.
Not at all.
Well, so much different has been said this week about the American-style golf, which is fly to the hole and put spin on it, versus the link-style golf, which is keep the ball close to the ground, plan your pitch and rollouts, play the ball with curvature of the golf course itself, where in the U.S. it's just fly everything to a pin and hopefully it spins either back far enough or stops and checks close enough.
And George, to be honest, and Gene, you may agree, you may disagree, but I just think with the new golf ball, it's hard to play that way anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. You can't golf balls now. You start to turn them one way or the other, and they flatten out. You know, the old balls would continue to move where these don't, and I just think the game has changed, and it's one reason why these guys are hitting such short irons and getting to some of these holes that are 500 yards into the wind over there, because you know the area is so much heavier in Scotland.
Well, Patrick Reed made an interesting comment after his round today. By the way, he shoots 66, which is already the lower round than anything that was posted in 2004 at Royal Troon, which the previous low score there at Troon in 04 was 67. But Reed made the comment, when the wind did pick up today, it was a heavier wind, meaning, meteorology-wise, it's thick.
Yeah.
And so he found that he had to add a little bit more club, especially coming inbound back from the turn. And what we mean by that, folks, and if you've been living under a rock, I guess, but just about the entire front, except for it starts at number 8 is when the wind will change. But holes 1 through 7 are down the prevailing wind, downwind, down grain, if you want to look at it that way. But I mean, these guys are just bombing some drives. Bubba had one just shy of 398, just shy of 400 yards on the par 4. He's hitting a wedge. He hit a pitching wedge, 177 today. Rory had 197 pin on the first par 5. He hit 8 iron and ended up pin high. Actually checked it onto the green from 197 with an 8 iron. So that speaks to the technology. We remember, of course, one of our trivia questions for the day. Gene, I'll let you hold yours. But who is the oldest to have recorded a hole-in-one in the Open Championship? And it just happens to be at Royal Troon, and it just happens to be on number 8, the postage stamp, and that, of course, is Gene Sarazen. And at the age of 71, and but he was playing 123 yards.
It always plays 123 yards.
It doesn't matter where they got the tee marker, but it's playing 123, and he hit a smooth little 5 iron. And you heard stories this morning. Sir Nick Faldo was even commenting on the last time he played there. He had to hit, and he said he got every bit of a 5 iron on that 123-yard par 3. He said when the wind comes in, he goes, you're elevated, and you're looking down at the green, but in actuality, the green is just as elevated as you are. So it's as susceptible to as much of the wind coming off the inlet as any hole out there, basically. We're seeing really throughout this first round of the Open Championship, the holes that we expected to play the toughest are actually at that point right now. We expected 11 to be the hardest hole out there, and it is right now the hardest hole out there.
It's playing over 5.9, something like 5.
11 right now is playing 4.889. Okay. So it is almost playing a stroke over par. So you're looking at 17 doubles or worse on 11 so far. We've seen some big numbers.
1 birdie.
So, that's the quote-unquote railway hole. Yep. So we saw Justin Thomas, who went out this morning, and, he and Jimmy and Jordan and a couple other guys are all rooming together in a house. And, and he just goes out, and he's probably and will probably have the lowest score posted in that home this evening. So he'll have some bragging rights. But he ends up making double there. He blows it totally out of bounds.
It made a heck of a double because he didn't just hit it out of bounds. He hit it over the railroad. I mean, and that's 40 yards right. But, looking at – and we've got the monitor on here. You're watching the postage stamp. I mean, you're talking 123 yards, folks, and these guys are struggling to hit this green. And it's really not windy. It's just that intimidating.
Well, you watched Rory take a 9-iron earlier this morning and do his half-half, half backswing, half follow-through, and put it in there to about a foot. And then you watched, say, Jimmy Walker, who likewise took a 9-iron, tugged it a little bit at the end, and ends up in the coffin bunker, and he has to blow it back out to the front part of the green/fairway/apron, and he ends up making his bogey and just walks off the green and wipes his brow.
Well, and that's not to interrupt you, but that's part of links golf, though.
Sure
Wouldn't you
it
say?
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got to know when to take your medicine, make your bogey, and get out. Cut your losses and run. You know, I mean,
You better know when to do it.
Exactly.
Well, right now, number 4 is playing the easiest on the golf course. That is your first par 5, and it is playing 4.593 strokes. There have been 3 eagles on this hole. There have been 59 birdies, only 3 doubles or worse. So it is playing the easiest on the golf course. Then number 6, which is your second par 5 on the first 9, and it is playing at 4.93. So those 2 holes are 4.711. Those 2 holes are really battling one another to be the easiest on the golf course right now. So, and again, they're both extremely fun to watch as far as the coverage, because you're watching these guys like Rory and Bubba and even Ricky. Ricky hit 7-iron into that thing today as far as number 4. And, you know, for these guys, this is where they've got to get to getting good, if you know what I mean. The wind has died down today, guys. I mean, it's not where it has been during the last several practice days. No. And everybody knew that you had to get it going in the first 7 holes, really, because at hole 10, this golf course is a totally different animal. But we're seeing some great shots being played on 16, on 17, on 18, and 18 right now is playing the 12th hardest at even par. It is at 4.00. 17 as a par 3 is playing 3.2. It's the 5th hardest hole in the golf course. 15 is rearing its ugly little head. It is playing the 2nd hardest hole in the course at 4.4. So I made some notes earlier. Holes 11, 15, 16, and 17 would be pivotal.
Oh, there's no question. And, you know, for everybody to watch, and Gene, I know you noticed it too. I mean, for a major championship, the speed of these greens is not much different than some of the greens you'd putt when you come down here speed-wise to Myrtle Beach.
That's true.
They're not quick.
No.
I mean, the greens are not quick at all. I mean, it looks like some of these guys hit these putts and you think they've knocked them 10, 12 feet by,
right,
and they go by 3 feet.
And we watched Jordan Spieth this morning struggle with all phases of his game. And he made the comment, he goes, I just couldn't get the speed of the greens. Well, you've been on them for 7 days, you know, but the point is one day it's hard raining, the next day it's misty raining, and, you know, then today it's bright and sunny. Now, there are a few greens out here, number 8 in particular. If they're up above the hole, it's acting like it's 15 on the stamp meter.
It is.
And it's because the way it's exposed to the wind and elements and things like that.
You're right. But again, it goes back to everybody's used to the way things are done in the United States.
Exactly.
Night before, they double cut, they roll. The morning, they double cut. They don't do that over there. They don't have to. Because like I was talking about earlier, George, I mean, the weather can change daily. It can change semi-daily. It can change hourly. It can change in minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you can go tee off on a hole, and by the time you get to your ball, you're putting a rain suit on and a sweatshirt or a underarm, whatever, your Under Armour, because you're cold and it's raining. And then 5 minutes later, you can't get the clothes off fast enough.
Well, it's summertime conditions for the first round because these guys are in short sleeves. It's 60 degrees. Many of the caddies are wearing shorts. So the weather is very, very let's say, agreeable to both the golfers and the spectators that are able to get out at Royal Troon and partake in this experience that is the Open.
And it's a great track, and it's just a golf course.
I mean, the first Open ever in history in 1860 was, of course, played just down the street at Prestwick. Mm-hmm. And they don't go to Prestwick anymore because of the design of Prestwick and the length of Prestwick. They just can't return there.
Well, I got to play there and made a hole-in-one on the blind par 3. First time I ever played a hole, and the guy said hit over the red part of the box on top of that hill.
Yep.
And now maybe somebody on the other side of the hole grabbed my ball and threw it in there, but when I got there, it was in the hole. But, you know, it goes along the same railway. You know, that railway that you see here, it goes right along Prestwick, and it's a great old golf course.
Yes, it is.
And it's just the game has changed, and it's a shame. But I mean, for a golf course like this, it'll hold its own, and you'll have low numbers, but you'll also have some high numbers, as we've seen today. This golf course, it will grab you.
What's 4 playing? I mean, excuse me, 8. You
Number
gave
8?
Yep, just out of
Okay,
curiosity.
the postage stamp is playing the 7th hardest hole on the course. Average right now is 3.05. 3.05. There have been 21 birdies and 5 others.
Bubba made triple.
Yep.
Bubba made triple.
How did he make his triple? I'm just
Jason
curious. I
Day
didn't
made
see it.
double.
He buried it in the coffin bunker on the left against the left lip.
Okay.
Which,
Right.
because he's left-handed, he had to go to the rear part of the
He
green.
had to play out the back, hit a great bunker shot out of there, but it ran off down into the heavy stuff. Well, the heavy stuff's running away. It's actually he's hitting into it.
He chili dunked it.
Chili dumped it, then got it on the green, then missed the putt.
Yeah.
So it makes triple in a
And-
123
yard.
yard. par
And
three.
he, as soon as he picked his ball out of the cup, making 6, he waved to the crowd.
That's good.
He knew
Yeah.
he put himself there.
Yeah, he did.
He was his own worst enemy there. And then Bubba just went out and finished his round and played very
Played
well
well.
today. He played very well. He kept his emotions in check today. I have to give him that. Bubba kept him in check today.
Well, if he does that, you better watch out.
Sure. And I'm curious to see how DJ does this afternoon. I mean,
He'll stay
everybody.
calm.
I've heard people comment over the last several days. Well, we're not quite sure where Dustin is with his mind. We're not quite sure where Dustin is. I'm sitting there looking at him, going, guys, look, he just won a major championship, and he followed it up with a win at the WGC right after that.
I know where his mind is. He's parked on go and ready to run at every tournament
If
plays
he's
in.
able to go out today and take that fade that he's worked on diligently.
Yep.
If he's able to take the left side of the golf course out of play today, I mean, he could go low. He could have a 66 in him, no doubt, and he could put them back to back to back.
Well, look at it this way. I mean, we've got Mickelson through 8 at 4 under par. Right back.
Yeah.
He just hit it a foot on number 8.
He loves that type of golf.
And like
absolutely
Nick,
loves
but
it.
here's the funny part. Watching it this morning, Faldo talked about how he played with Phil, over there when it was Phil's first time playing links, and how he just driving it was all over the place. He hated it. Sir Nick Faldo taught him how to play links golf. And then he said that we spent a lot of time together over the years, and he's learned, and now he's learned to love it. And you look what he's done in the past, and you look what he's doing now.
And you hope Phil has the energy and all that, enable him to propel him over 4 days, just to keep it going over 4 days.
I was going to say, you act like he's, has to go to the hospital every night or something.
He's not like me, bud, but I was just making a comment. All right, moving on. I want to remind everybody of our picks. We made these a week ago at our last – we did it in Pro Golf Talk Live. So Mr. Weldon had picked Dustin Johnson, Sergio Garcia, and Rory McIlroy. Rory had a decent day. Rory was tied for the lead for several holes, including several coming up the second 9. Ends up at -2 today. Dustin and Sergio just getting their round started. HR picked Louis Oosthuizen, Ernie Els, and Jordan Spieth. And Jordan struggled today.
But from tee to green, George, it wasn't that bad. Everybody says, the guy hit a lot of greens and he did a lot of good stuff. He just didn't make anything.
Yeah. Well, he has been the first one this week in interviews to state, my game's just not in the right spot right now. I'm just struggling. I'm not quite sure where this is going to go or this is going to go. And, he keeps referring to the team thing again. Michael and I are going to get it figured out, and okay, whatever, Jordan.
He's won tournaments saying the same thing.
Sure he has.
So
Sure he has.
whatever that's worth.
My picks, Dustin Johnson, my already horse that lost 3 legs and is currently having a bullet loaded in the gun, Shane Lowry. He posted plus temperature today, whatever, and Louis Oosthuizen. So I'm already so far in the basement that I don't think the elevator goes high enough to get me out of it. So interestingly, guys, we've had 66 posts already. Many 67s. Steve Stricker goes out and shoots 4 under par. No one would have picked that. That would have been had to be, it's it's like you look at the odds, and Steve Stricker wasn't exactly the best odds to win this Open, but he goes out and shoots 4 under par.
But like it's been said all week, the person that will win the Open Championship, become the champion golfer of the year, is the person with experience.
And our reigning champion is, of course, Zach Johnson.
Yep.
So
And he's playing solid right now as well.
Yep. So this is a championship to where that type of mentality over 4 days.
You better.
It's
have
a marathon.
Some control
It's not a sprint.
You better have some control of your emotions, and you better have control of your golf ball, and know when to swallow your pride and go.
Yep.
And that's what impressed me so much about Bubba. So, good for him. He could have really easily taken the John Daly approach and just totally said, "Screw everything, I'm out." Even though it's
right there on television, They're
even
showing
though it's the
press
first rounds of the Open, and but he didn't do that, and so good for him. We have seen others like my pick, Shane Lowry, that had a couple of bad breaks in the first 9 holes and just let it get to his head, and he just could not have cared less. And that's sad. It being in his,
It goes back to the old saying, you can't win it the first day, but you can darn sure lose it.
You can sure lose it. Exactly, Gene. Exactly. So, again, 145th Open is off and running, and the golf course is as spectacular as everyone anticipated it to be. I do like the fact that here we are in the first and second rounds, and the weather's not going to be the story. The golf course is not going to be the story. The guys are just going out and executing shots. Mm-hmm. And that's great. That's great for the game. That's great for the spectators. That's great for the people of interest, it being a major championship. It's now the golfers competing not against weather, not against golf course, but they're competing against one another. Yep. And I think it's healthy for it. We don't have Chambers Bay here where they're competing against the golf course. Yeah. You agree?
I agree.
They don't have 40-degree with 60-knot winds, and there's threats of the rounds being suspended and things like that we saw like at St. Andrews and like on Saturday at St. Andrews. So we just got golfers out there saying, okay, I'm in good form today. And they're proving it out with their scores. Why don't you give us an update as to the leaders and all? We've been kind of dodging around it. But
we've been dodging. I mean, like George was saying earlier, Patrick Reed shot 5 under par, 66. He has the clubhouse lead at the moment. Justin Thomas came in at 4 under par after his debacle on number 11, which was a fantastic double bogey, basically a birdie, but is stroking distance. And then you've got Steve Stricker, who surprising yes, but surprising no. You look at the experience, the way that guy putts, and as straight as he hits it, I mean, it's going to be hard to outrun a guy like that. I just think if
his putter works all weekend, watch out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Billy Horschel, who actually changed equipment this week before he went over there, shot 4 under par, 67, and Darren, he's swinging good, though.
I want to comment on that. I had someone ask me yesterday, Godfather, why would someone change equipment and they're going the week of the Open? Folks, come to a realism with this. Billy Horschel, I guarantee you, started hitting these clubs 10 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay? It wasn't just like, hey, I think I'll change equipment just last week. Nope. This has been in the making for a long, long time. And I guarantee you he's practiced more with these clubs than he had with his previous manufacturer over the last several months.
I guarantee you. And
guarantee it.
And then, they finally came to an agreement on the equipment and everything else, and it worked out. But the guy's swinging at it really good. I mean, no offense, he could play with the umbrella and the orange.
Look at this.
He could play with the orange whip.
Yep. Justin Leonard.
3 under.
Just went to 4. Just went to 4. So, I mean, that's on number 11. Just made birdie.
Again, Justin Leonard.
Yep.
Unreal.
So, I mean,
again, straight down the middle.
And you go looking down the leaderboard again. You got Justin Rose at 3 under par. You got Soo-Min Lee at 3 under. You've got Shugo.
Go ahead.
Imahira
Imahira
at 3 under. And, look at Richard Stern. Tony Finau, Kevin Kisner. Now they've got to finish. Kisner's just gone into 10 and making that turn in, on the homeward bound.
Tony's already gone through 15 now, so he's kind of went through the teeth of the dog.
Yeah.
He's got the par 3 coming up. He had 18's playing pretty docile today. So if Tony Finau gets in at 3 under par, phenomenal day.
Yes.
For that young man.
I agree.
Really good.
So, I mean, you've got a lot of guys. And again, folks, it's early. There's guys that still haven't even teed off over there. So,
Mr. Driving Range, Vijay Singh, shoots 2 under par.
After he knocked out Marco Dawson's caddy the other day in the practice round with an errant tee shot.
Yeah.
I mean, but, hey, just watch because this is links golf. Anything can happen.
Yep.
And like we were saying earlier, there's bunkers in the middle of these fairways. They aren't just down the sides like they are here in the United States. They're in the middle of the fairway, so you got to play around them, short of them, over them, whatever it takes. And so depending on the weather is how this golf course is going to play out, and that's the beauty of it.
Let's take a quick commercial break if we can, Jeff. And when we come back, we'll finish our discussions about the Open Championship. And I've got one other point that I want to bring up, and I think it'll start a little bit of debate between the panel here.
You can count on it.
Don't go anywhere, folks. Join us right back here on TGD Today with George, Hugh, and, of course, Professor Gene Weldon. We'll be right back.